I was going to get the red pen out, I can put on.
Good evening. Let me open the Town of Southampton Personnel Policy and Procedures Board public meeting. I'd like to first introduce the board. We don't get many introductions and many people never see us. So let me first start with the elected members of the board. First, Jim Palermo to my left. Jim is our clerk. My name is Art Lawrence. I'm the chairman of the board. Joyce Skypeck is our vice chairman, but she cannot attend tonight's meeting. To my left is Janet Kane, is the finance committee liaison. And to my right is Liz Moulton, who is our select board liaison. I should point out that both liaisons are voting members of the board. We did have a little change in venue here, and I'd like to get some housekeeping done first. We were supposed to have this meeting upstairs in the second floor meeting room. Because of the TV, we moved down here. I was a little worried about that, so I did call the open meeting law division of the Attorney General office today to see if this was okay to move here. They said we had to meet 3 criteria. First, we had to put signs up, which we did. If anybody hasn't signed in, please sign in. We had to amend the public meeting notice. And the third thing, we had to wait long enough for people to go from the old venue to the new venue. Seeing that we're talking about the second floor for the first floor, I think we've waited enough time and have met the criteria. Let me read the public meeting notice into the record. This was published at in the Hampshire Gazette on June 6th. Public meeting, Town of Southampton Personnel Policy and Procedure Board will hold a public meeting on Thursday, June 19th, 2014 at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall, 210 College Highway, second floor meeting room. And Jim, if you can amend that to the first, to review the proposed Town of Southampton Personnel Bylaw and Regulations. Copies of the proposed bylaw, personnel bylaw, was distributed to all department heads, commissions, and boards that hire town employees. And each department head was asked to put a notice up on in their work area so everybody could see that when the meeting was going to be held, and also that the department head had a copy of the proposed personnel bylaw. Notices also went up at Town Hall. This public meeting is to gather inputs and comments on the proposed personnel bylaw. These will be collated and they will be presented to the select board as soon as we can get on their agenda. I should note that 20 days from tonight, the select board has to approve or not approve the personnel bylaw. I also have to state that any collective bargaining agreements and town employee contracts, like for the fire chief or the town administrator, are not affected by the proposed personnel bylaw. Conversely, if it's not covered in the collective bargaining agreement or the town employee contract, the bylaw would take effect. As an example, none of the contracts that I've read have anything to say about, say, smoking. The bylaw has a non-smoking section, so the person would have to, the employee would have to abide by that. People will be recognized by the chair by raising their hand, and please state your name and address slowly. Some of us are getting up in age, and it takes us a while to write these things down. And the last thing I'd like to do is read in from the Board of Assessors a memo that we've received concerning this public meeting. It's dated 5/13/2014. It's addressed to the board from the Board of Assessors, and it's concerned with proposed changes to the personal bylaw. The Board of Assessors requests that the following be included in the proposed changes in the personal bylaw. Section 12-2, no current employee will have previously granted vacation time decreased due to guideline changes. In Section 13-2, no current employee will have previously granted sick time decreased due to guideline changes. Thank you, Southampton Board of Assessors, Gary R. Swanson and Joanne Spath. And with that, I would like to open the meeting to the floor and get your inputs and comments. Heather, our town administrator, do you have a comment for us?
Yes, I do have a few. I presented a memo to the board, and I apologize for not being involved further with this personal bylaws change from the very beginning. I simply addressed three things in this. I'm sure I'll have some more comments as we go. What I've been doing over the past week or so is I've actually reached out to other communities via a few of our listservs on MMA to see what they're doing. I think it's always important, just as we would do with our fee schedules or anything else, is to see what other communities in the area and also Massachusetts have as a standard for what they offer for sick, vacational, and personal time, since I think those are the major areas that folks are concerned about. As the town administrator, I have a contract. This does not actually affect me directly, but it does affect all of the employees. And I think personal, sick, and vacation time are very important because it affects the morale, ultimately, of the employees. If employees are out sick, or if they're unable to take leave when they need to, or if they're here and they're worn out and ragged because they don't have enough vacation time, I think it affects everyone. First thing I addressed in the memo was vacation time. And I just gave a suggestion from one of the other communities on how to amend things from there. But my commentary on vacation time is right now most employees have 1 week of vacation time, and then they have 1 week of sick time. And what we've been finding when we're looking at things is a lot of times employees, at the very beginning, take both weeks. And is it that they're sick? They may be sick. The concern I have, though, is that they're taking the sick time because they don't have enough vacation time. You want to make sure that your employees have enough time to actually leave the workplace, go out someplace else, take time off, spend time with their family, be a well-rounded individual, because that's what we want working at the town, is well-rounded individuals. We want to make sure that we take care of our employees. So the first thing I look at on that was vacation. Looking at other communities, I think I heard back from about 10 or so. I'm sorry I didn't bring those printouts today, and some of them you have to sort through quite a bit to get to the vacation time. But the majority of them said 2 weeks was their standard. I think we only found one other one that had 1 week as their standard beginning vacation time. I'd recommend that with our starting standard should be 2 weeks, whether it's 8 days for those who only work 30 days or 4 days a week, or whether it's 10 days for those who work 40 days a week. I still think that we should begin with 2 weeks vacation time, and I provided a basic schedule to build from there. And does it have to be written in stone? Not necessarily. Those are just recommendations I found from another community, and I modified it for our 30-hour work days. Second issue I looked at was sick time. Concern is that our folks don't have, first of all, enough sick time in the first place. People get sick. It happens. Common colds, flus, other things happen. Sometimes you need surgery. Sometimes other stuff comes up. And we want folks to not be here when they're sick. We want them to take care of themselves. Their personal well-being is very important to us. We also want to make sure that when they're sick, they stay home. We don't want someone who's sick coming into the office and infecting everybody else. That's not good for them. It's not good for everybody else. So we want to make sure they have the time to spend at home and take care of themselves. How we do that, you can do it either way. You can either increase their sick time to begin with. Most communities, what they do is they say, okay, you get 1 sick day or so many 1 point something days per month that you work. That's how you accrue it at that rate, and you go from there. The second thing I'd like to see is that we have a sick bank so that folks can actually carry over their sick time. We want to encourage people to hang on to their sick time, not to, we don't want to make them afraid that they're going to lose it. We want them to say, hang on to this for a rainy day, for the event that, 3 years from now that you do have to have surgery, that something unexpected does happen, that you have this. I know folks will say, well, we have this policy in our procedure book already that we get 3/4 pay and we can apply for that, yes. But this would allow you to have full pay. And it would allow you to take the time you need to take as you go forward. And it's a better protection for everybody. So that's my recommendation there, to either change it to 10 days sick time per year, or accrue a day per month that someone works, and to make sure that they have a sick bank. I'd also recommend putting in a policy there that was kind of like before, but that says, you know, if you're out 3 days consecutively, just bring back a doctor's note that says, you know, you are in fact safe to return to work, whether it was an injury you were out for, whether it was an illness, to make sure that, you know, everyone's safe to go forward. The last thing I addressed was personal time, and they didn't really address the amount of time. That's fine. 2 days is pretty much the standard in the industry. I think the only thing I addressed on it was just that it wouldn't be deducted from sick. I think it was just a matter of wording on here, and that's, I don't think anything that even really needed to be addressed. I think I was just on a roll at that point, and I had chocolate, so I apologize. That's all I have on those pieces, though. Thank you.
There's just one question
Sure.
on the sick time.
Yeah.
I understand the cap of what you have, and that.
Well, there was a concern over time when I've spoken to various folks that, you know, they were concerned people could build up this huge amount of sick time in a bank that just would be overflowing in 20 years if the person never got sick. So some people were concerned about caps, and some communities did have caps. So I kind of made a modest guess, you know. I lowered it below what other communities had. In this case, I just rounded, I picked picked the number 30, or sorry, I picked the number 90 days rather, which is essentially a little bit more than 3 months, but it's 3 physical months, and then multiplied it by either 30 hours or 40 hours. And the other thing I had on here too was, let's see, I think I have one more piece. Not sure if I did, maybe I didn't. Might be hallucinating at this point.
Before you went off, that really wasn't my question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
My question was, this cap, would the person be paid for that cap if they left the employee of the town?
No, at the very top of my memo here, it says sick time, 1 day per month accrued sick bank, doctor's letter after 3 consecutive days out, non-cashable upon
Thank
departure.
you, I didn't see that. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
You know, on the length of time, what does our short-term disability policy say?
Short-term disability policy currently allows someone to go out 3/4 pay for up to 26 weeks.
Okay. So that would be after the 90 days?
So
Or
right now,
whatever accumulated
the
sick time?
current proposed policy of the procedure board is to actually remove the short-term disability lines out of the book. And there's concerns both ways for this. The one nice thing about the sick bank is that you, first of all, if you are out, you get full pay and not 3/4 pay. Number two, we get rid of that other policy altogether. The third thing is that what we're working on with the finance department is essentially looking at short-term disability options. So if you think about it, say you have 10 days that build up. Say 2 years go by, you haven't used any sick days because you're relatively healthy. You have 20 days that have built up, okay? So 20 days gives you about 4 weeks. And now you've decided, okay, well, I as an individual would like to elect into a short-term disability plan. Some of the short-term disability plans that we're still working with a few different vendors, we've talked to Colonial, we've talked to Aflac in the past, and we're talking with MetLife. Who is it?
Boston Mutual.
Boston Mutual in July, 1st of July. And some of the short-term disability plans, what they allow is they allow you to actually choose your own plan. They sit down with everybody and they say, you as an individual, what would work for you? I'd like my short-term disability to kick in on day 2. I'd like my short-term disability to kick on day 12. I'd like it to kick on week 6. Whatever it is, so that you can plan ahead. So you can say, you know, I'm generally healthy most of the time, but you never know, just in case, I'd like it to pick up on week 3. So should I be out, it picks up on week 3. And then that can cover you up as long as you want. There's also possibilities we already have in place. You can opt into long-term disability. But most of the time, after a year, you're eligible for SSDI if something would go that period of time. back to the short-term disability, there is a cost to it. The cost is individually assessed to each individual based on all the factors, you know, age and, what were the other ones? I think it's how long you wanted it for, what percentage do you pay wanting to cover it for.
So you could choose, for that plan, you could choose the amount of your benefit that you wanted, like say you wanted $1,500 a month because you felt like if that covered your mortgage, say, and you wanted to start at week 3 and you wanted $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, like you basically tailored the plan to your needs.
Yes,
Mildred Cohen, I have a question. Is that employee pay?
Yes.
Okay. And when would it kick in? What's the period of time that you would be eligible for that?
It's when the employee opts to have it kick in.
So
So the
therefore,
employee can sign up for, every employee is different. So know that as an employee, you may say, you know, I don't get sick very often. I know I have, you know, I can easily build up my 10 sick days. I'm going to say I want my coverage to start on week 3. I might say, you know what, I'm not that healthy. I want my coverage to kick in on day 3.
okay. You said that before, okay, and I got that. What I'm addressing is if the person has, let's say, 4 weeks of sick time that they banked, wouldn't that person use that first
Yes.
pool of benefit before they took the disability?
They could.
That's what it is.
Okay, so they would take it after they had exhausted.
let's.
Yeah, so like, for example, and I'm just going to use having a child as an example because I worked at Friendly's and I had a certain amount of vacation time I could use, and I also had short-term and long-term disability. So I used up my vacation time for 2 weeks of it, and then my long-term disability, or whatever one I used, short or long, kicked in after I had used my vacation time. So if you had 4...
Vacation and sick. So
Yes, I was able to use, yes.
time that you
Yes,
have
so if you had 4 weeks, I'm assuming this is right, if I had 4 weeks of banked sick time, I would use up my 4 weeks, and then my disability would kick in.
I want to just mention that, you know, I'm glad this is being brought up because, you know, I actually have, you know, the Colonial, that we sat down and talked to the folks, that we have looked into the short term and continue to look into it. But I remember that what we're proposing in the bylaw is to eliminate the, you know, the three-quarter pay, half a year, because it is very costly to the town, and it is kind of it is a kind of a unique. I can't tell you that, but I've been told it's costly.
Do we know how many people have used it and what's the
So
cost?
since I've been in this position, and I've only been here for 4 months, we've had at least 4 to 5 requests for medical leave. So that's at least 4 employees who are unable to actually serve their job, but instead we're paying them for up to 26 weeks and they're not here.
Plus, you may have to replace that person too, right, with a temporary or additional help like that, so. So I don't want to, you know, but I just want to mention that is part of the, and I'm, you know, glad you brought it up, Joe, and also that we're looking at the short term, because I think personally, when I was employed before I retired, that it was probably the best benefit that you can have is short-term disability, and long-term disability. Yes, ma'am.
My understanding was that the 26 weeks was offered to the employees because the rates of pay here were a little bit lower than some of the surrounding communities. And if they felt it offset,
You could be right.
That might have been the case a
I
long
don't
time
know.
ago when it was.
I don't know. I don't know what the, how it started. I've looked at,
I think it would be good to know the cost though. For the
we could certainly get that together.
yeah, I think that's important.
It's an individual's salary at 3/4 of the salary. So if someone made generally $400 a week and they're only making 3/4, you're losing $300 every week. So what's, the town is paying out $300 every week to an individual who's not present.
Right.
So what happens is if you have someone out 26 weeks, and sometimes departments have had 2 people out on medical leave, the same period of the 26 weeks, which means that they can't hire anyone for that position, for either of those positions, to even fill in, because that money's already allocated to both of the individuals. Now, is the sick time piece going to help? Well, it's not going to help much. It's going to be essentially the same difference because you're still paying them, you're actually paying them more, but the short-term disability piece would help. it would help both ways. It would help, A, because the individual would be getting 100% of their pay, not 75% if they had short-term disability insurance. So that would help them out.
They pay for it.
Yes, but it would help them out, because instead of only getting 75% of their pay, they'd be getting 100%. And it would help the town out, because we would be able to have the opportunity that when someone's out for that extended period of time, we'd be able to hire someone to help us out in certain departments, especially if, if it's a key time of the year, and a highway superintendent has several people out on disability. What are you going to do when, we already are short on funds, we don't have the money as it is to fill in those positions?
Are you talking about illness or they've been hurt on the job?
It's irrelevant, either way it's going to do the same problem.
But we gotta,
Workman's comp is something totally
right,
different.
let's not bring, workman's comp's totally separate, as Heather just said. No, this can be anything, any accident,
sprain your finger.
sprain, whatever.
And get a doctor to say you can be out for 26 weeks, and the town of Southampton will pay you for a sprained finger.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
I think the important thing here, go ahead.
Todd Jaros from the Highway Department. I used it 20-some
I'm
years
sorry,
ago.
your name?
Todd Jaros from the Southampton Highway Department. I used it 20-some years ago. I broke my leg. And 3/4 pay, it's a benefit. We don't get paid that much, even after almost 30 years I've been here. It's a benefit. And people we've hired since then have come for the benefits. We don't make a lot of money. You're taking benefits away for no reason. I mean, granted, but it's still up to the department head to push forward. If he feels it is fraudulent, like you said, a sprained pinky,
Right.
it is. And when I used it, I had a couple weeks vacation and my sick. And just like she said, you use that all up, and then you started on the 3/4 pay. At this point, 3/4 pay wouldn't cover, it would help you stay afloat. But now you're gonna take money out of my paycheck for 52 weeks out of the year in case? I think you're...
Let me, I don't know if you were here before, I mentioned that this proposed bylaw does not affect any collective bargaining agreement, and I believe you are under a collective bargaining agreement.
For the town employees, period, I mean, I have a lot of friends in different
Right, but-
departments through the town that are very concerned about this. Why should someone out walking sprain their ankle and be in debt? I mean, granted, it's saving money, I don't see how, I mean, the money's allocated for the worker. Granted, you're losing that work at that period of time, but if it's fraudulent, someone using it, I mean, I know exactly where everybody's going with this. You gotta look at each individual case. I mean, heart attack, broke your leg, you're not faking that stuff. There's no way to take care of it.
Thank you for your inputs. Mrs. Swanson?
So it doesn't affect anybody, any of the union employees, so it's only going to affect the employees in the town hall.
Or without contract.
Or
People
without
without
contracts, or who are not elected, am I correct? So how many people is that, do we know?
Under 30.
Under 30?
30, yeah.
30?
Under 30.
Under 30.
So it's the clerks, basically, in the offices, am I correct? And they're the lowest paid people. I just don't think it's right.
Okay. All right, we appreciate your inputs. I mean, it's 30 today, there'll be negotiations for contracts later, so,
Well, then the other option.
So what you're doing, Art, is you're forcing the very few people who make the least amount of money. We've been through this. I've been involved in the town for 45 years. And I've seen this comes as it's a wave thing. Obviously, the people who bargain, teachers are at the top of the scale. They've got the MTA. I was in the school department for 10 years and, negotiated. And bottom line is the people who bargain are in good shape. The people who have tried to, stay, basically out of the unions. And we've had selectmen like Dougie Blanchard, he was off before you got on, Liz, but, who have tried to promote town employees. Dougie was a great union man. And tried to promote to everybody, be unionized. And I think what you're doing by taking away this benefit for a very few people, what you're doing is you're practically forcing these people to become unionized. And that's not necessarily a good thing. we have such a small number of people who will be affected by this, that I think it's necessary to do a cost-benefit evaluation before the decision is made to make this move.
Agreed.
This is an important, it's important to a lot of people. You see the highway guys that are showing up here tonight. You may do more damage by removing this perk than you do in the amount of money that the town is saving. Is all I'm saying.
May I just say something? The people who came in late, would you please sign the sheet and,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, just so I know who's to record.
Any other comments? Yes, sir. Your name?
Roger Law from Glen Mill Road.
Yes, Mr.
You
Bowman.
mentioned that because of the amount of people out in the departments, you know, you're going to punish the entire town for the act of a few, okay? This policy that's in effect right now is being overseen by the department heads, okay? The department head place to make the judgments, okay, for these few people that are out on it, okay? And like what I'm saying, you're punishing everybody for a few, when it's a management problem, okay? The department heads, the board of selectmen, the town administrator should be working in a fashion to correct the problem that exists, not punish everyone who might use it in the future.
I think that one of the parts that's maybe missing in this conversation is, although would like to take that away, we're trying to look at a solution, adding more sick days, allowing people to bank their sick days over a course of time that would help to alleviate some of the hardship of taking the 3/4 pay away.
Yeah. And then, you know, the extra insurance policy and the stuff that you want us to buy now, you know, for short term, there's employees that have had these policies. They don't work. There's too much paperwork. You can't get paid. There's a history.
You're talking about me, Tajeras. You know, when I asked at the highway garage, the secretary said half black. She told me to dump that. When that lady came in two years ago, a year and a half ago, I had 2 claims that year. I had a piece of steel in my eye I got at work, which I didn't use workman's comp. So there are people out here that do have some morals. And then I split my head open. She goes, oh, that's covered. And Joyce helped me fill out paperwork on top of paperwork. We submit it to that lady. She sent it back, oh, you need this. I went out there. I went like 3 different times to the doctor getting different paperwork. And I'll quote Joyce this time, it's not worth it. And I looked and knew she was right. It was only like $50. And we did well more than $50 worth of stuff trying to get it. I can't imagine them giving out money for a workman's a claim. You're going to have more paperwork and you'll be swamped with it.
And it doesn't work. That stuff that you're trying to sell us, it don't work. Yeah, you can say it does, but
Go ahead.
I
we've
think
lived it.
I understand that you've had that
Now, Roger
experience.
here ain't gonna be eligible for any of it.
Okay.
I'm not eligible for any of it.
Well, I don't think there's
And-
actually any age caps on any of it, Joe.
There
I think-
is caps on it. Absolutely caps on
First of
it.
all, we're not looking at Aflac, we're looking at short-term disability, we're not looking at Aflac, I assure
It
you.
was
Aflac
said.
tried to remove that. We did not say Aflac, we said they have long-term Aflac.
They have short-term, long-term.
Yes, but we haven't looked at short-term Aflac. What we've been looking at is we looked at Colonial, we've looked at, what did we say, Boston Mutual? And there's a few others, the one that's offered by Maya is the third one we're looking at. We're waiting on collecting all the information. And you know what, I can't tell you that it's better. I can't tell you that it's worse. I can't tell you that it's the same. All I can tell you is that we work with all the different companies to get all the information. Once we start to find a company that we think is something that folks might be interested in, and a few other companies, what we're planning to do is we are going to present them before the Board of Selectmen so that they see all the information. Then, once we go further, we want everyone else to come in and talk to them. We want everyone else to put in their input, ask them the questions, and even ask for references. Fine, let's have references from other towns and communities that use them and see how successful they are, and see if they work, and see if they get good responses from people. Because you know what? It's like anything else. Sometimes you have a good one, sometimes you have a bad one. And you're going to find that with anything. You find that with automobiles. You find that with other companies you use for different things. So it's no different than anything else. We have to shop around, we have to see what's available, and we have to see what's out there and do our research.
Mrs. Swanson?
Do you know what the average monthly payment is for that disability insurance? I mean, you know, order of magnitude.
It depends is the answer. We don't know, it depends.
Well, just,
It depends on salary and,
It literally depends on the salary. If you make
but
more
if
money,
you're making $11.11 an hour or $13.13 an hour, and you know, and you have no benefits to begin with, and now you're gonna take that out of somebody's salary, they're not gonna be able to go to why.
well, first of all, folks have benefits. And the second thing is that, you know, it depends on how much folks make, their age, all the factors are considered. Colonial did a great job of breaking it down for us, and, you know, maybe they have great references, maybe they don't. But one thing they did say they did is that they sat down with each and every single individual who was interested in this insurance, and they went over, you know, what they would be eligible for. They said, well, what are you looking for? Let's break it down, let's see what it would be for you, so that they, you know, what their options are. And Joe, you're retiring. What do you need short-term disability for?
No, I'm.
Okay, all right.
To the town.
I'll try to get you that information, and maybe we can show you the scale. He's supposed to send that, and maybe he already has. I know when I had it a number of years ago, it was pretty trivial, but I was making a lot of money, so.
Well, right, and it makes a difference. I think what we need to do is take the positions, what the hourly rate is, and
Yep.
you know, see what it's.
Now, the other thing I do know is that the town does pay very, very good medical benefits. I think some of the best that I've seen. What does the town pay? How much?
70%.
70%. I mean, that's almost unheard of anywhere in government or in industry. It is. I can tell you that.
Right now in Massachusetts, with all the communities and towns, the standard is generally 70-30. There's some who are 80-20. It's very few and rare, and the majority are going lower than that and
Go
actually
to the
paying
next
less.
community down the streets, 90-10.
It's the majority, is what I'm telling you. It was what my information research says. So the majority are right where we are. We're right at the standard level. There's very few who pay more than we pay, and there's very few who, or actually, I guess it's more than a few at this point, who are paying less than what we pay. But right now, we're at standard average.
Now, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I think we pretty much exhausted most. I think we understand where everybody's coming from that has contributed to this section. Is there any more that people want to talk? Yes, Randall.
Randall Kemp, 64 Fulmer Road, Highway Superintendent. I was originally for this reduction in benefit, but conversations with my employees, they feel overwhelmingly strongly to retain this benefit. So I'd just like to have that for the record, please.
But their benefit's not changed because they're collective bargaining agreement.
I think you alluded to contract negotiations coming up, it being eliminated at that time.
Okay. Anybody else would like to comment on the section we just covered? I hope.
I think just as long as the board agrees to put it on hold at this point until you get more information. Don't just brush off this testimony and adopt it.
I mean, you know, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, let's face it, the select board makes the final decision here. We are, you know, we've started, we put a fair amount of work into this. I think people may not realize how many meetings we've had to try to put this together. Some of this was not exactly what we wanted, but was suggested, and we put it in, and you certainly responded. So, like I say, we're going to collate this information, get it to the select board, have supporting information that Heather will be supplying, and they will have the final decision, or maybe they have no decision. Maybe they decide they don't want a bylaw, and I'll be damned if I'm going to do this again. But that's another question. Yes, Nelda.
So point of order, can we hear from the other members to see where they stand on based on the information that's been, because you're the chair and you basically sort of run the meeting, but no one else has given an opinion as to where
Well,
they
this
stand.
is a public hearing to get the public's opinion. I think we've pretty much told you our opinion because we wrote it, right? And we want your opinion so we can get that information to the select board.
Okay, so you're gonna digest what's been stated here.
Oh, we're gonna collate it. I'm gonna present it to the select board, hopefully within a week or two. As soon as, Jim and the rest of the board, we can get all this information together. We'll present it. We'll see where they want to go. We'll make the changes, the additions, the subtractions, or whatever. I will go back, rewrite it, put in all the things, make it as totally formal. The plan is then to present it to town council, and then presented for the final to the select board for a final approval or not approval. That's sort of the plan that we have going forward. And like I say, we're under a 20-day window because that's what the current bylaw says. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm happy to tell you, and I am probably going to shoot myself in the foot here, that I am in support of removing this from the bylaw. That is my own personal opinion. I think it costs the town too much money. I think it's a benefit that could be distributed in a different way than the way it's presented in the three-quarter pay. I understand the concerns of the highway department. Don't think I don't. I understand. But I think there's a different way to get to the same end. I get that the pay scale is low. I understand that it could cost a little extra money. I think that we need to do a little better research and figure out how we can help. But I am in support of removing it from the bylaw.
Hold on, let me just ask you.
I'm a school town employee, and this bylaw does not affect me. Not only that, I do not have short-term disability at the school. I don't have anything. So if I cut my arm off at school with the slicer, I have my spanked sick time, and that's it. The rest is on me. Yeah, maybe, yes. But like you, I'm sure that I might,
I was going to say,
but
our job's a little different. We're shoveling. This is my question. I asked Randall this. We're in the hole shoveling, hard work, doing whatever, moving bags, whatever. Your back gets tight. It's sore at work. You want us to fill paperwork out just because you have normal payment? Now I go home, and I've been known to put wood in the stove. My back pops. You hear people tying their shoe at home. Back pops. Who's going to pay for that? Now, if I go back, of course, everybody's going to say, get your ass back to work tomorrow morning, and it's under workman's comp. But, workman's comp's going to argue, well, if you left, you were fine, and you came in stiff. You're right. So now I call Aflac, and they're not going to want to hand money out when I say my back was sore at work. Then you're going to have the whole thing going back and forth.
we could go tit for tat for this because my husband is in a job that is just like yours. We have Aflac. I have had great success with Aflac. I think it has to do with who the person is that takes care of your claims, because the person that does ours does them basically for us, although I have heard it's not like that other ways. We can go back and forth. I agree with I understand what you're saying, but this is my opinion.
Okay, let me just go down and inquiry the rest of the board. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but if you do have I will put my two cents in. I think that we should have a short-term disability. I'm not saying that it should all be on the employee. I think that the town should help, like they help with other benefits, like the medical. They should contribute a portion so that the person would be fully covered, not just three-quarters covered. Plus, I think there is some tax reasons and so that make the short-term even better, because I think there is a tax break if you have disability. Short-term disability. Let me Joe, just a minute. Would you like to say anything, Janet?
I think the questions that have been raised today are good questions. I'd like to see a better cost analysis and really have a better understanding who's impacted by removal of this benefit. And then I can have a stronger opinion. I'm very new to the board here, and it'd be good information to have before we make a final decision or present it to the select board.
Thank you, Janet. Jim?
Well, I've only been on the board since, I think, May, and have had very little input into the overall drafting of these. I did, as a citizen, make suggestions on the bylaws, but not with relative to this area. And I'm of the opinion that we do need cost-benefit analysis, and I think it's a very important thing that we should look into, to see what the employee burden would be under both versions. And I think it's just something that requires very careful attention.
If you had this information, Jim, you might actually be able to make a determination, perhaps a portion of the disability policy could be covered by the town. There's various ways of going about this, but you need the numbers in order to figure it out.
I always feel very uncomfortable making any decision unless I feel I have enough information. And I don't have enough information right now.
Okay, any more comments? Yeah, Joe, sorry.
Have you looked at the aspect that, according to the lady at the end, I can't remember those names. Really just whatever. But have you taken into consideration that she made the statement that it's costing the town a lot of money? Have you taken into consideration the fact that maybe if we only spent a half of that lot, that the town could subsidize this plan and not make it an employee contribution?
You only spent half of that.
Huh?
No, he's saying if, use half of what we've spent and apply that to, a full coverage with short term, that may be a solution to the problem.
That was something that I actually talked to someone about today, like maybe offering the employees that the town would cover the first X amount of dollars, and if the employees wanted to buy something in addition to that to add to it, so the town would pay for the first, I'm not going to give a number because I don't know for sure, but so many, so much for everyone who is employed. And then if they want to purchase in addition to that, this can be added to the plan. But we have to get those numbers to see what they think.
Okay, I think the board certainly hears what everybody's saying here, and we do need to get the numbers, and I will as the chairman, charge my boss, the town administrator, to look into this, and also Donna and probably Vicki, if the three of you could come up with the numbers here, that would be very, very helpful, that we can present to the select board. Okay, anything else on this particular subject? Yes, ma'am. Anything else on this part of the bylaw? Mrs. Swanson, go ahead, please.
I had a number of comments about this your policy. And I have to say, I was a little surprised when I first started reading it. Liz, you asked me for a copy of the manual that I had done when I interviewed. And reading it, this is very much exactly what was in my documents. So I've gone through some of the things that you've changed in here and have made a number of corrections. And I don't want to go through each one line by line tonight.
Can you present that to us?
So if you have a meeting, do you have a meeting scheduled to, refine any of this before you present it to the Board of Selectmen?
Would it be possible for you to send me a written version of your corrections?
No, that's way too much work at this point.
Okay, well, I just wanted to include it in the minutes.
Do you have it marked up in a working document that we could just?
Not that you can read, no. To be perfectly honest with you, I was trying to go through this, I just got this, a week or so ago,
Couple of weeks.
when I took a look at it. And so I haven't gotten through all of it yet. But some things were left out that should be in there, references to Mass General Law. Some things, are a little incorrect that need changing. But if you have a meeting coming up, when are you presenting this to the Board of Selectmen?
We have to present it within 20 days of today, so my thoughts were to get what we got out of from this meeting and present it within a week or two to the select board.
well, you're kidding vacation times and everything else. I mean, this is, you know, an awkward time.
I didn't write the original bylaw, which we are now under, so that's what it says, 20 days. I did not write the original bylaw that we are now working under, which says we have 20 days from today to present it to the select board.
20,
The first.
Doesn't
20
say,
bus-
it
20
doesn't
business
say
days or
working
20
or
days?
calendar, it just says 20 days
From any time when you address.
from today.
From the hearing.
Well, now that you've started the process, but you could do this in September and have 20 days from that to
Then you have
execute a change.
Then you go through a whole, another public meeting, and you go through the whole process.
But I
No,
have to agree that
What's
the
the
timing
hurry?
is poor simply because you have a lot of people that it impacts. And I'm sure that there would be more people here if we're not, you know, people have made that shift now. We have the town elections, we have the annual town meeting, and now people are sort of thinking of vacation mode. So that was my concern in terms of being transparent, having a partnership of how this is going to be executed, and having a voice, each department head, each employee, regardless of what area they work in, that they're represented and that they're heard.
No, I can't say, I can't agree with you. Number one, everybody should be represented because the notification has gone out to everyone. Everyone, and if you want to see it, I have a sheet here that was signed by every department head except the police department. The police chief refused to sign it because he doesn't sign these type of deals, so I put down here, he refused to sign it. But he did take the information, and it has been distributed to every department as far as I know, and you know, so if people were that interested and really wanted, they would be here, I would think.
One more question. I just want to refer to something you said earlier. In presenting this document for discussion, did the board vote on the content of the document? I was just a little confused by Jim Palermo's comment that he contributed to it before he became an elected member, right? You were involved?
When, trying to figure the timeline here, Nilda, but I think that when I knew that I was going to run for this, I got a copy of the revisions. And I reviewed it and submitted to Art some questions that I had. Art invited me to attend the meeting, which was open to everybody. It was an open meetings. And I made some presentations. And I think most of the recommendations I made, what you could call cosmetic maybe, clearing up language. And the board accepted it. With regard to whether or not there was a vote, I don't think there was what you would call a vote. We all worked on it, and we said, okay, this is what we're going to present to the public.
No, this has been, we've been working on this since last December. We've had the people like Randall, we've had town employees on this, we've had citizens like Jim, we've had select board members involved, including Liz and John Martin. We've had a myriad of people here contributing to this, so this has not been just me, believe me. I can't take, and I don't want to take the credit for what was done
And
here.
you guys have accomplished a lot more than the board has in many
Well,
years that I've been asking questions.
the other problem, and then I'll shut up, is that there were like 4 versions of this bylaw floating around this building. And, you know, everybody comes to me with a different one. No, this is this one, this is that one. So this is a way to try to, you know, finally get one. And I always think it's the stuff like this, and maybe you'll laugh when I say this, but it's a living document. And it's something that should be kept up and should be, you know, changed, because things change. Everything changes at one time or another. So that was the thought. Like I say, we got a lot of input here, and a lot of work went into it. Yeah, I understand, we could delay it, but you know what's going to happen. It'll get delayed forever, and it'll never get done. So, point well taken, and...
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I am very interested in this document because originally I was the one that drafted the original. And when I submitted it to personnel policies, there was a transmittal letter. Was that in the, you know, the front of the manual I gave you, Liz?
To be very honest with you, it's on my desk still. I have not even opened the cover.
Well, if you're not going to use it.
I would be happy to return it to you.
Thank you,
Yes.
that would be great. A lot of work went into it, I'm sure you can understand that. So I'm very interested in seeing this through. In the transmittal letter, what I had said to the board, the members then, was that I would make the corrections for them. And please not to have a public hearing until, you know, all the corrections had been done. So I think that we have a little disconnect here from the
When was-
previous board
Oh,
to
previous.
this board. And I understand people get elected and so forth. So I found out that you guys, you know, were all working on this, and that's why I came in to ask for this documents.
We certainly haven't kept it hidden from anybody. I mean, these are public meetings, and
They
they're
are,
certainly
but-
published
Pardon?
they're certainly published on websites, they're put
I'm
on
not
the
talking
board.
necessarily about the meetings, I'm talking about the work that was done.
Well, I'm just saying, the work was done at meetings that were published.
You know,
No, what
You weren't
I
that-
think what I'm trying to be very gentle with this. You know where I'm going, Jim, don't you?
I'm not sure, but what
Well, in terms of crediting people's work and,
Oh, right.
You know, not just saying, well, we've worked very hard on this and, you know, this is what we've drafted, because you didn't draft all of it. You didn't do all the work.
I didn't say that.
We said we did the changes.
We made the changes.
Anything that's
We did not
highlighted
say-
is something that we've changed.
Wrote it.
No,
No, I don't think we did.
you know,
just look at it, you see the highlighted, and there's quite a fair amount of highlighting here, so, you know, there has been some work that went into it.
Highlights here, and everything else was sort of taken verbatim.
Okay, let's move forward. I think we've had enough discussion on how the document came about.
may I just say something?
Hold on, go ahead, Jim.
As much as I like open meetings and like the town meetings and stuff, I find it very hard, in fact, at the town meeting, last town meeting, it's very difficult to really carefully draft a document in that kind of a venue. And I'm wondering if we could agree on some procedure here where that in a very timely manner, I could, as clerk, receive the corrections and redactions that you would like to make and have that reflected in our report to the select board?
Well, I would be glad to meet with your board. I just need to know when your board's meeting.
Well, I'm even wondering if it would be necessary to actually have
I mean,
a meeting, if you could get the information to me somehow.
I mean, you're bringing this up in a public meeting, so, you know, you were saying, yes, give us
Well, I'm not
the
gonna have
comments.
this in time. I mean, you want to do this lickety-split. I'm not going to have those corrections ready in the next 2 weeks. I mean, this, you know, I'm going to be gone. It's vacation time, and I don't work for the town.
No, I realize that, but, I mean, I want to be sure that my minutes reflect your concerns, and frankly, I don't know what your concerns are, you know, in great detail.
No, but they are detailed, and I haven't gone
Right.
through it, and I haven't even finished going through it line by line.
All right, so I'm just wondering if maybe,
Correct.
maybe not take the time now, but maybe during the meeting, if you give it some thought, to realize, maybe come up with a way that I could get your data to incorporate.
But I can do that, but I can't do it in time for you to get it to the select board.
Well, we're talking, okay, all right. Heather?
It's moving too quickly.
So I think a couple things, just, I think this would help just clarify things. Whenever we get a document to work with, we have whatever was handed down to us. All of us take over for our predecessors, and we have whatever document we have, whatever paperwork we have, and we work with it. And we modify it, we amend it, we have living documents, we make them grow, we go with what we have. And I think that's what the Personnel Policy Procedure Board did here. They took over what was ever in their files, whatever came across their desk, and they worked with it. And they made their amendments and changes to whatever was currently living and to move forward. As far as the timeline, whatever changes they believe are the ones that have to be made and needs to be made, they're going to be made in 2 weeks, July 1st. Ms. Swanson, we'd love to have your input. The board would love to have your input if you'd like to have it in. Unfortunately, I understand vacation comes up. You're going to have to get it to them before July 1st, or it's unfortunately likely not going to be included. If you want something further in the future to be amended, we'd love to have that as well. We'd love to have you continually work with the living document And maybe the next time we do revisions, it'll be included at that time. But unfortunately, certain things, they have to change. We want to amend so our folks have the ability to have vacation time that's beneficial to them, to have a sick bank. We need to get these changes in, and we need to get them amended now. And to wait and put it off and do timely to September, have to repost everything, have to go through the process again, it's just not worth it.
We know how government works, it's okay.
But government doesn't always work slow.
If it's going to the Board of Selectmen, then they can go ahead and make their decision whether or not to accept at that point in time, or maybe they'll only accept a portion of what you decide.
It's their call.
You know, I know,
Because you're recommending board, right?
I believe all of our comments should be addressed to the chairman. And what suggestion I would make is that if there are lingering issues after this meeting, that at the time that the select board considers the minutes, that at that time you could go before the select board and raise the specific considerations again before the select board.
This is only an advisory committee to begin with,
Right.
to the select board. Basically, what you're doing is you're putting together a package, going to the select board. You have a select board representative as a member, as an active member on your committee, so certainly there's no surprises here, Liz. Bottom line is that the select board is not obligated to take a yes, no, black and white action relative to this thing. If the select board wishes to railroad this through, which I would find to be very inappropriate, they have that option, and that option is not, does not fall on your board. If, on the other hand, that they decide that there's enough open-ended things that they should consider, obviously there's been a lot of concern expressed tonight on one particular issue. There are other issues that I can bring up a couple, but the bottom line is that the select board, especially during this vacation season, this is not the time, Liz, for your board to be approving something as significant as this. It should not be cast in stone during a vacation season when people really aren't available to put the kind of input that they want.
We're approaching the first of the fiscal year. Whenever you make changes to things that are going to affect folks, vacation, sick time, the like, the best time to implement changes is the first of the fiscal year. Vacation or not vacation, this meeting's already been posted twice. People have had adamant time to look over things. They've had at least 2 months to look over this. I've spoken with almost every major, actually I have spoken with every major department head pertaining to personal policy procedure bylaws. Anyone who's had questions, I've probably spoken with them at the same time as well, or at different moments. I've had lengthy discussions about this with quite a few folks from town, quite a few employees as well. At this point in time, they've had several months to make commentary. Some departments, the Board of Assessors, yourselves, you have submitted comments. I've submitted comments. So people have had plenty of time to do so. If they were going to comment, they've had the opportunity to comment. I think at this time, it would be the recommendation of the town administrator that the board proceed to submit this to the Board of Selectmen for recommendation of approval or dismissal, whatever the Board of Selectmen's thoughts would be on the matter.
And I'm sure I've made it very clear to the town administrator as well as the Board of Selectmen that that would be inappropriate. Let that be on the record.
Mr. Ball?
Yes, so I just want to kind of get this straight. Why are we here? Okay? It seems to me that there's been enough questions put out on the floor to warrant a second look at part of these articles. Maybe not all of them. Maybe your vacation time and all that is great, okay? But I think that the board should go back and maybe pick and choose what they're going to put to the Board of Selectmen, rather than a package, which has got a whole lot of concerns by people, okay? And we've had a lot of time to look at it. And Randall can tell you, I've been to here more than once, okay? I don't think we should rush into it willy-nilly and make a mistake.
Okay, your comments are all taken, but again, remember, it does not affect you because you are under a collective bargaining agreement, correct? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
One little detail, the initial bylaw, I don't think you can make changes to essentially the enabling legislation without going to town meeting. You make some inserts, so I don't know if you want to do that or not.
I've been told, and though I'm not a lawyer, though I'm looking at one, I've been told that this bylaw can be passed by the select board without a town meeting.
No,
I know you can change the, the policies and the regulations, but the bylaw itself, the enabling legislation
I see.
portion of it, I
understand.
don't believe you can change
Okay.
that unless you go to a town meeting. So you may want to take out, you make some little additions, some little, substantively, I guess, you added appointing authority in there.
Yeah.
You may want to just look at that.
Okay, good point. The real major one was in the section 2 of the application. There we wanted to get the the collective bargaining, the chapter, and all that good stuff. And as far as equal opportunity, I don't think that was the first page 3.
Section 2.
Section 2, yeah. I think that was a statement we were really concerned about, but your point's well taken.
A point of order, Mrs. Swanson, what section were you referring to? Are you referring to section 1?
I was referring to section 5A, you added appointing authority, and, it does change the bylaw, and I think you added, it's hard to read the gray. I think you added something at the end of section 2 application.
Yes, that's right.
Or any other factor or
Okay.
condition prescribed
All right,
by
understand.
state law that's not in there.
Okay.
We'll look into that, and maybe Abby, you could help us with that.
The rest of the,
Yes, Nelda?
A comment. I realize that there's an urgency on the part of the select board, the finance committee, to look at ways that the town can have a budget that is more manageable and predictable in terms of expenditures. And I'm sure that Donna has looked into these benefit plans with that in mind. And that would be a July 1st effective date. But this document also, and I went through it last night, and just read it, I didn't spend a lot of time on each of the portions. What I think also I took away from it is that it's also, in some cases, taking some authority from department heads in terms of what the personnel policy board would then have as the final say. Am I reading that correctly in terms of
I don't.
a couple of instances?
I may be wrong, Nelda, and you'd have to point out, we certainly tried not to do that. We didn't want to take any power away from the department or the appointing authority,
Okay.
which could be, you say at the Council of Aging or whatever, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have just a couple of specific items though, and it's under personnel records, access to records. I did not see anything in here that said that personnel records would be kept in a locked file,
Okay.
and I think that's important.
What section
They
is that?
are,
Could you give us a section or a page number?
3-4, it's page 15,
okay, we can add that.
access to records.
They are in a locked file, but you're right, we should put that in.
And, application, page 18. Next to the last sentence, personnel policies and procedures board shall, you put in to the extent possible, maintain the confidentiality of all applications.
Are you in 4-4?
No.
No, I'm on page
What up from that?
18.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think that it should just simply say, shall maintain confidentiality.
So this is what's in there right now, there's nothing changed in that section. We didn't change.
No, it was changed from the document that I gave you.
This one was, for the
Well,
current.
that, whatever you gave me, nobody has, including me, has even looked at. So it could be changed from you, but it's not changed from the policies that are in effect in the town of Southampton right now.
Yes, what I'm trying to say, Liz, is this document is 98% the document I gave to you.
Right, but this wasn't changed. This was originally,
That's
what you just pointed out, believe me, it's from the current one that is being used here in Town Hall. If we had changed it, I would have had a line through it.
To the extent possible.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, anybody else?
all right, just, I can't refer to
Yeah, go
chapter
ahead.
verse or section, but a comment was put to the Board of Assessors a while back that there was a concern about reducing benefits, vacation time. And the problem was where it fell in the definition of a week. Our concern is principally that we're concerned about where benefits have been established, of actually reducing or cutting back, defining a week is 5 days, and you know the section, it was reduced to 4 days. I think it would be appropriate and save us all a lot of headaches if there was some provision, a grandfathering provision of sorts.
You may not have been sitting here, but I did read your into the record.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought I saw it formalized somewhere, I just...
So I did read it into the record. Jim will get this afterwards.
So the board has considered this then?
Well, it's a comment that just came in. I
Oh, it
received-
just came in?
Well, I got it in my box. I don't know when this was put there. I don't
Is
look
it
at it.
dated?
It's dated 5/13. Anna, I believe you put it there, or it's signed by you,
Oh,
by Gary Swanson and
I've
Joanne.
signed a lot of things since I
Joanne's-
joined this board.
Joanne Spath, yeah, so.
Yeah, no, we're fully in accord,
Okay.
and the board is expressing this concern and would like
Okay.
the 3Ps board to
Understand. We have
consider
made
this,
record.
because I think it may cause more headaches than
Understand.
the savings.
Anything else, folks? Yes, ma'am.
Francine Tishman. I'm looking at the section on performance evaluations,
Yes.
and, I think obviously what isn't in here, at least to me, is the yardstick by which people are going to be measured. Is that going to be the job description for line people? Will it be, annual or work plan or goals that the select board establishes for the department heads? Because, being on the finance committee,
Yeah.
budget management to me is a critical factor in a person being successful at their job. So, I'd really like to see, not the specifics, but just a reference to what will be used to measure each person each year. And that can be a changing document based on, the job change needs and so on and so forth. But there is a point of reference that is objective, that everybody can look at.
If you see the form, we certainly can get you a copy of it that is used for performance evaluation. It does state, that the select board, whoever it is, the department head, would put the goal for the year, the goals for the year, and then they would be measured on it the following year.
That's all, just a reference.
It happens to be in the form. We didn't put it down here, but the form does have that, and all the other criteria that you know, knowledge and so on and so forth.
So if I understand you correctly, you did use portions of the manual that I had done. Am I understanding you, or Liz said nobody read it?
All I used, or I shouldn't say I, because I keep, that's terrible, and it's not me, it's the people who help do this. We use the version September 11th, 2013.
Where did it come from?
This came out of my, the town administrator's office.
What was on file?
No, I just need to know, did that information come from the manual that I did? Only because.
Where would that manual that you did come from?
I
From
have-
me?
I have no idea where you...
Is that what you're trying to say? I don't understand.
I just want, because there are things, this is very specific. If
Who did you give that manual to? Is my when you wrote the manual, who did you give it to?
I gave it to the Personnel Policies Board, to Ed Colley with the transmittal letter.
Okay, so none of...
I gave you a.
Yep, and it's still in my
everything you
office.
asked for.
Yep, you are right. It's still in my office. It's never left. Whatever copy you give to Ed Colley, he did not give to any of us. The only corrections that can be made...
I just don't understand how you could go through all of this and it's word for word.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know whoever you gave those copies to. This is the only record of the one that we have used. Yours has never crossed my mind. This board's desk, it has not gone to the town administrator. Nothing about this has anything to do with yours.
Did the previous Personnel Policy Board do that version?
I have no idea. I wasn't on the board. Couldn't tell you. How would I know if I wasn't on the board?
I'll ask them and I'll find out.
Please.
But my follow-up question is, there are sections missing. So you're saying you never saw any of this documentation that I did? You've never seen it?
I keep telling you, we saw the September 11th, it says down here, all the revisions, blah, blah, blah. The last revision was September 11th, 2013.
And it came all typed like that?
That's how I got it. And
That was the active document.
and that's what we've been working on since December.
Mrs. Swanson, just for my notes, when did you submit your manual to the town originally?
It would have been in 2011. So I knew the previous Personnel Policy Board was working on it. But there are certain sections that I think would have been important to have in here. And one of them was the acceptable use of town technology resources.
So they took your document but didn't do anything with it, is what it looks like to me. If you gave it to them, they didn't do anything with it, because if it's missing from here,
No,
they didn't put it
They
in.
did. It is, I asked one of the members, and they said they took, the entire manual is in your personnel drawer. It was put in there, so.
Not anything that we have used.
Pardon?
It's not anything that anyone has seen or used.
Well, they must have used a portion of this document then in order to create.
And even if they
this.
did use it and didn't go to the select board to be approved. Right?
Well, that's not even my issue. It's that there are other things. If
Okay,
you're going to-
let me suggest this.
Please let me finish. If you're going to the select board and you want to give them a finished product and zip this through, there are sections, important sections.
Well, they may be important to you, but they may not be important to us.
I'm
right?
a taxpayer.
Well,
Those are
correct,
important.
fine, so am I. So, look, please do me a favor. I find out about the document, but talk to whoever you gave it to. I have no idea. I just started myself just a few months ago, so please.
Well, I did speak to somebody and they said the document is
Well,
in the
fine.
file cabinet.
This is
So
exactly
if-
what we worked
If you
on.
got that out of the file cabinet, revised September 11th, this must have been there too. because
Right, well, we got it right out of Heather's office, right up on the bookshelf that says, here is the bylaw for, and I had like 28 copies of it in there. And I ended up throwing away 27 of them,
Well,
because there were so many floating around. So that's where it came from. I'm sorry. I can't tell you any more than that, because I'm new.
What I'm saying is, you know, there are other sections that are left out, such as, you know, the Small Necessities Leave Act.
Can you call Amanda after?
Yeah,
Mrs. Swanson,
okay.
if they're not in there and you want them in there, wouldn't that be something you would raise with the select board?
I will.
Just to say that you would want them included?
Do we know when
Town administrator, sounds like July 1st, right? July 1st?
July 1st.
The election day.
Right in the middle of the.
Yes, Mr. Kemp, sorry.
Just to clear up something, I came in a little late, I don't know if you brought this up to begin with. One of the things that elicited this, what you guys are trying to revise, is that there are multiple copies, multiple different conflicting versions of this bylaw going around, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like people have modified it, hasn't gone through proper channels, but people have copies that they got, I don't know how, and so people are interpreting different versions differently. Crazy, I don't know how the select board is dealing with it.
So basically, all you're trying to do is establish something consistent.
Yes, one version, one approved version that everyone can go by.
Well, fortunately, it'll get clarified because Ed Colley's on your board and he was there on the personnel that was concurred.
Thankfully.
So he'd be the right guy, okay.
He would be the guy.
Yes, Mr. Ball.
Last copy that I got, I signed for,
When was that?
and, yeah, I had signed that I got it, and it's not the same as that.
Exactly, exactly.
What, excuse me, sir, what date was that, around approximately? Long time ago, or just recently?
Maybe around 2004,
2005.
That was the last
Got all
time I saw
sorts
it.
of dates going on.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Kemp.
So again, if employees are given a manual by administrator or whoever, and we're made to sign for it, which one is the right one, I think is what you guys are trying to solve, correct?
Yes.
We're trying to solve, we're trying to fix that.
Actually, the town clerk is the official keeper of the records for the town. And the town clerk should be the source of whatever final active,
Yeah, agreed.
and frankly, if everybody goes through the town clerk, makes it official, there shouldn't be any confusion like that.
Okay, anything else, folks? My stomach is starting to growl.
The Board of Assessors has, I think we were on your agenda, and we're all here now. And the board has also met and, had a meeting, and as you know, we've had a vacancy.
I don't know what agenda.
This is only an open meeting to talk about
Yeah,
this.
this is
There's not an
It's just a
agenda.
public, this is just a public meeting, nothing else.
There's nothing else on the agenda.
We,
to talk
our,
about this.
We're
our
not
agenda,
asking you for anything, we're just telling you, we got a person coming in.
yeah, well, we've received the personnel request form. We have a posted meeting for Monday. We should be able to sign that off on Monday, and we will pass it on to the finance committee and follow the protocol. We did receive everything, and I don't see any issues. We just need to sign it off on Monday at 1 o'clock.
What we're trying to do is just put a temporary employee in there so we can, resolve the permanent.
Well, that's not what I received. I received a PRF for the permanent. So if you want to present something, but we'll have to have another 48 hours because we got to post it. It is government. I can't help you. I can't get around that. I'd love to, but I can't.
Well,
You know,
bottom line,
I'm
if you got a
from-
problem,
I'm from-
the board's filling a position.
I'm from industry.
We'll work out the details.
Yeah. No, we can work that out. The problem is I gotta post it. That's the issue. So I will be glad to do that come Monday. Any other questions, comments? It's been interesting. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your comments and inputs, and we will get it, try to move something forward.